So you had a weird list of priorities and focus. I mean, we had it all. We had GOProud. We had the gay conservatives. We had demands to legalize drugs, marijuana, and CPAC. Most conservatives strongly oppose gay marriage and legalized pot. Then we had, would-be candidates promoted by the Washington ruling class. We had some candidates jumping on talk radio. We need to move this. Mitch Daniels need to move beyond the audiences of Rush and Sean and so forth and the C-SPAN viewers. We need to move beyond that. There was this constant drumbeat that came from a lot of people, from Jeb Bush, from Mitch Daniels, and not a lot of people. So we've got to do something about these social conservatives. We've got to dump this. We've got to. And I just have a question. Does the left ever dump any of its factions? Does the left ever hold a convention and say, you know what, we've got to get rid of the Huffington Post people? We've got to de-emphasize the Daily Kos. Do they ever do anything like this? Does the left ever do anything it does to appeal to its enemies? To try to be loved and associated by its enemies. But there is if you look at last year, you go into the campaign and the election last year, there's an unmistakable conservative ascendancy happening in this country. Even independents were flocking in the direction of conservatism. Now, they had to vote Republican. They didn't want to vote for Democrats in November. But the move was clearly to conservatism, not the Republican Party. But at CPAC, you didn't get the impression here that there was a conservative ascendancy going on. You had a lot of people saying, we've got to do something about that faction of conservatism. We're going to do something about that faction of conservatism. We've got to move beyond this faction of conservatism. I think the ruling class has circled the wagons to use CPAC to do it. Social conservatives were dissed again at CPAC. And the ruling class, hearing every speech made, every comment made, dissed the social conservatives. And I thought with what had happened last fall, I mean, Cheney got heckled, called a war criminal, and a draft dodger at CPAC. Sorry, that's not the CPAC that I've always thought of or known. When you have candidates or would-be candidates telling conservatives to park their principles at the door, to check their principles at the door when they come in, who are not fully understood on a host of issues, that they're not going to be trusted by voters at large. To the extent that people who voted in November paid attention to CPAC and told this conservative political action conferences, I wonder how much conservatism they actually saw as measured against what they were expecting, if they watched it. When you had a candidate promoted by the Republican establishment who didn't write off conservative voices in the radio, but says, we're going to move beyond that. Now, nobody would disagree that for a movement to grow, you need people from all over the place to join the movement. So I didn't take personally Mitch Daniels saying we need to move beyond the audiences of people on talk radio, but that's clear. It's in fact smart, but in the process of doing so, you don't diss the people who are already audiences of those shows. You don't say that they're irrelevant or unnecessary. Who won elections for your party year after year after year. And all this, of course, done to impress the mainstream media. And then, the problem with CPAC, frankly, is that rather than promote traditional conservative principles, maybe even with new strategies, that's fine and dandy, rather than do that, the principles are now up for grabs. The definition of a conservative is up for grabs. And people who've had very little to do with election results this last November are now lecturing everybody on how to move forward. And that's what CPAC was, and it just kind of didn't compute.
On the EIB Network.